Health Matters. Now, our mission here is to encourage open dialogue around mental health among the Black community. Now, I'm your host, Amanda Eke, and today we have a very special guest with us discussing all things on how mental health coaching can support Black communities. Stay tuned. Everyone. Now I'm here to announce and welcome our first guest to the stage, Terri Floyd. Terri, now you're a regular now, but please do reintroduce yourself for everyone to know.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Terri Floyd. I am a behavioral scientist, a mental health educator and advocate, and a mindset and journal coach. And I'm excited to be here on this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Terri, for joining us. Now, today we have a really interesting episode. Now, we're discussing how mental health coaching can really support Black communities. Now, from just your expertise, I think people need to know what exactly is mental health coaching? What does it consist of? Is this a therapist? Is this a life coach? What is mental health coaching?
That is a great question. Mental health coaching, it is, well, first, I will say, usually when individuals have that title as a mental health coach, they're not a therapist, but you do have some therapists that also provide the therapeutic or the treatment from a therapist standpoint, the counseling. But then there are also life coaches, but are specifically trained for mental health coaching. Mental health coaching, it falls in line with life coaching, but at the same time, it's specific to a specific area where they have the training, where they took classes, have certifications that are specific to mental health. Could be trauma informed, it could be things related to stress, anxiety, behavioral health. But you have to have kind of like that special niche with that training to be considered maybe to be considered a mental health coach. But with the mental health coaching, it is a collaborative,
Mm.
client centered approach. And so it equips the individuals with tools and strategies, and support that they need to help them to effectively help them support their mental health. Now, of course, is not them providing any type of medication. That again, that's the therapist route, that's the psychiatrist, psychologist realm. But it's more so it delves into the focus on the present and the future, providing that empowering individuals to set and achieve goals. So when we think of the traumas and like deep-seated issues, which it can be like a fine line, that is more so mental health therapists that you want to kind of relinquish or refer them to individuals that are licensed and trained in that area, because the coaching and counseling kind of can fall in a thin gray area. But if
Mhm.
it's out of your scope, and they need more support like traditional therapy, then it is best to refer them if you do not have the proper education and the licensure to provide those services that are needed for that individual.
Okay, very interesting. So it's more of a collaborative approach as opposed to that kind of individual one-on-one therapy. Okay, had
Mhm.
no idea. So definitely learning something new. Now tell us how can, like you said, collaborative approach. So how do individuals how are they really benefiting and how do they get empowered via this mental health coaching in this collaborative team effort then?
Absolutely. With this, with and it comes to like the mental health coaching and how individuals can be empowered, it's more of a well, it's similar, like a personalized approach where it's unique to clients' needs. There's this support partnership and accountability that also takes into play because it's a collaborative effort. While the mental health coach is helping you achieve or set goals and achieve it, it's still up to that individual. And so the mental health coach is more so kind of like a guide to help assist in a way that is necessary and needed to make sure that you're staying on task, staying focused, and accomplishing that said goal. Also, mental health coaching, it helps empower individuals with enhanced self understanding. So, understanding self, knowing, recognizing who you are, utilizing journaling or specific things to kind of help do like that inner work, providing those practical tools and coping strategies, and also to help them utilize and embrace their voice. Again, it's focusing more so on the present and the future. It's a goal oriented focus. So when it's dealing with past traumas, dealing with deep seated issues or deep rooted issues, that's more so the mental health
Mhm.
therapist. But on the present and the future aspect with the goal oriented, that's where the mental health coach comes in to help empower the individuals or help them feel empowered within themselves.
No, that's very interesting because I don't think people realize that there's that kind of difference with, those past traumas really getting someone to help dig that has like you said, proper licensure to
Mhm.
really safely dig someone out of those things. Because as many people know, kind of digging up those past traumas that can really affect somebody, you know what I mean? Really trigger them into any type of mental state. So I think that's very important that you make that kind of distinction. The mental health coaches for present and future. So tell us a little bit about why is that? Because I think a lot of people don't think about differentiating those two things, your past and then versus your future.
Mhm.
Why is it important for people to have that mental health coach to help them create those steps for the now and then the future, as opposed to just using that model of how let's look at your past trauma to then kind of make your way forward? What's so kind of key about that present and future steps to take as a client?
Right. And that's very good. A lot of times we do, even just individuals alone, we kind of get stuck within the past and that holds us from moving forward.
Mm,
And so with a mental health coach, the benefits of having a coach that focus on the present and the future, while you are doing the work with past traumas, whether it's with a mental health therapist, licensed therapist, psychologist, social worker, while you're doing those that work with that past trauma, with the deep rooted, it's always important to still have a plan of action of where to go to, while we're
mhm,
getting an understanding of who we are, what happened
yeah.
to us, what trauma that took place may have us in this space right now. We do not have to stay there. And if we're doing the work, understanding the past traumas, understanding what happened to us, that it is not the final say so, to have that focus of the present and the future that can help you to guide to your life's meaning, your meaningful purpose, as well as to get more clarity and clarification to move forward. And so having a mental health coach and focus on the present, understanding about the past, understanding about the past situations of things that happened, not negating that or not neglecting it, but knowing that because this happened to me, this does not determine who I am going to be or who I should be. And so we can focus on the present, continue to work on that, and moving forward into the future to achieve and attain those goals that you have set for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a really, really great point. Now, kind of moving on to this aspect of it, I'm so curious, for Black people, should the coach be Black? I mean, that's such a kind of nuanced question. How important are the cultural nuances to finding the right mental health coach to take your steps from present to future? Are they important to know about? Especially in the Black community, are these things to actually think about? Should you have a coach that's Black? I mean, what is the kind of from your experience, how important are those cultural differences?
That is a great question. And I think honestly that it is very important. But when we look at the dynamic of that, of course, when we are looking or thinking about ways that we want to help in regards to our mental health, it is always important to have that representation because representation is important. Representation matters. And having individuals
Mhm.
that can understand maybe the things that you're dealing with or maybe struggles in regards to working to achieve goals is absolutely important. Just because an individual may look like me, this still does not necessarily mean that they understand the struggles that I went through. So it's important that while, yes, ideally, if you have a mental health coach and you're Black or whatever nationality or race that you are, you prefer someone that looks like you for the representation, but you still want them to be able to have the cultural competence to understand what you are dealing with and what you're going through. And so that's definitely important to know that regardless of the race of the individual, what works for you is to make sure that they're culturally competent as well as
Mhm.
have the compassion, empathy to understand and not be judgmental. So I think it's important to have that representation. I would first say yes. When I think about it, I know even with myself having my therapist and whatnot, and even with my coaches, I want someone who looks like me. I want someone to
Yeah.
have similar backgrounds to see like how did they navigate through the struggles or how did they kind of progress and move forward and achieve their goals, especially if it's something similar to what I'm looking for. And so
Yeah.
with that, that's definitely important to make sure that even if my religious background, if it kind of falls in
Mhm.
line or the cultural beliefs, how you view things, how you view in regards to specific areas within my life, me being a parent. So even having that understanding, a working mom and things in that nature, that all plays a part. And it's very important when we're looking for a mental health coach or a mental health therapist, whatever it is, that we working with those individuals to help us become our best selves.
Absolutely. How often do you see people? And I'm so curious. How often, from your line of work, do you think a lot of people sometimes put that last, that understanding of cultural differences? Do you think sometimes people put that last when choosing the best mental health coach or advocate?
Yes, I do.
Mm.
I see, and a lot of times we even have conversations about that. If I know the individuals, or just kind of piquing interest to get an understanding as to why they went with that person,
Mm.
because I think a lot of times we, again, like I said, representation is important and it matters, but it's a saying that we've heard, or I know I've heard growing up, that all skin folk isn't kinfolk, and so you have to kind of be
Yeah.
mindful that just because the individual looks like me, the appearance and the
Yeah.
skin color doesn't mean that they
Hmm.
necessarily understand the things that I've experienced or went through. And they may sometimes have a closed mind and not be open to even grasping that concept of that individuals have different cultural backgrounds and cultural beliefs or different type of traditions. And so I think that that is important, that if you're hiring a person to work with you, if you want to work with that person and you're looking for an actual partnership, that it's very important to make sure that the things that you believe fall in line. And so I try to encourage, it's like regardless if that person, if they're different race or whatnot, you still have to make sure that they have the cultural awareness and the cultural competence to make sure that they're just not giving you a textbook answer or just not
Yeah.
giving you some type of information that they learned in a certification and not
Yeah.
really applying it and where it's truly relevant to what you're actually dealing with in real life.
Absolutely, especially with the mental health coaching aspect in terms of you're taking steps forward. That's really, really important to have those understandings. No, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And I want to now kind of flip the script a little bit. There's such a stigma, I feel like, in the Black community, even to this day, even though we're chipping at that wall slowly but surely. But but there still is a very big stigma. And I think this is across all generations. It doesn't matter. People still find it difficult to seek mental health help, especially with this idea of mental health coaching.
Yes.
What can we kind of do to really defeat that stigma, and so people can freely be like, hey, I need help. I've went through this terrible event, personal life, career, tragedy. I need help. How do I get, how do we make it break down that wall finally to really defeat a lot of these stigmas? Because, obviously we see how it can support people,
Mhm.
mental health coaching, but it can't support our community if people still have that wall up of stagnation and I can't reach out. What is really can people do to really help chip down that wall of stigma of seeking out this mental health treatment?
Absolutely. Yes, stigma is definitely still alive and well in the Black community. We have progressed, but we still have a ways to go. I think
Right.
what's important, there are so many ways that we can continue to advocate. It's important, like even with this show, Black Mental Health Matters, to still provide that information that's talking about different type of topics and discussion, being that voice of spreading the awareness of the importance about cultural competency, as well as to let them know that sharing our stories of even just things that we've experienced and dealt with. A lot of times we, especially in the Black community, we're so focused on like keeping everything tight knit. It's like if what happens in this house stays in this house. That's still kind of like the concept that we have, that a lot of times we don't really want to share what we went through, how we prevailed from this. And if we are willing to share our story in a respectful way and to not that's causing trigger or harm to yourself, but even just showing like how I got through or how I made it out of this way, or what helped me. If we're sharing that story, that's another way that we can create that awareness, as well as create the safe type of space where other individuals are willing to share. I think in the Black community, it's still church still kind of is a high, whether it's
Yeah.
whether you're going to a religious organization in a church setting or even spirituality or creating these groups. Now it's important that we still utilize our voice in sharing our story. The only way that individuals that are amongst the group, amongst the community, can feel comfortable is they can see the progress within you. And a lot of times when we share that information, that helps other people to feel comfortable, confident, or come to you and ask you, what did you do? It's like, I see something different in you. what
Yeah.
what helped you? And so by us sharing that information, starting the conversation, showing compassion, not being judgmental, but embracing our voice and the voice of others, it helps to defeat the stigmas. It helps to seek help with, or to build that relationship and that community, to seek help within our community, because we can no longer be individuals and do this alone. It's a community
Mhm.
collaborative effort, which is absolutely important, and that is the only way that we can continue to thrive. Like, of course, there's individual things that we have to do, but a lot of times it's still more so a collaborative effort, to know that you're not alone, to have that support system, to have the community around you to uplift and encourage you at those moments where you don't feel like that you can continue to go on. So I think that's the way that we can defeat the stigma, by having the conversations, continue to talk about it, and continuing to spread the awareness. That's important.
And Taryn, you make a good point though, because a lot of it sometimes is, when people come out and actually say what they've been through and say, hey, I suck help, I sought out help through via this channel, it does encourage people to jump on board and be like, oh, wow, okay, I should do the same. But in the same breath, I also, and I think you had mentioned it a little bit, this kind of mentality of what's said in the house stays in the house. A
Mhm.
lot of that is the mentality of a lot of our families, communities, and even I would even dare to say cultural. Don't
Yes.
put your business out on Front Street.
Mhm.
Again, how do you kind of, what is your advice to people who are dealing with that? Maybe in a family system where it's like, they'll be shamed if they even talk about the struggles that they went through, maybe family, personal wise. How does one overcome that type of stigma and that type of shame?
It's something that I remember my mom telling me, because I used to be that person. I used to be the one that would not let people know that I was
Mhm.
dealing with struggles. And me being in this field, I was definitely that
Yeah.
one that did not want to share.
Yeah.
But I knew a part of, by me not sharing, that was still areas that I needed to heal. Okay. So we're
Mm.
always continuing to evolve and continue to grow. But if you get to that point where you feel that shame and guilt, where you cannot share about some things that maybe you don't have to go all the way into a detail of like what truly fully happened, unless you just feel the need, and it's a specific person that you're talking to that is relative to what they're dealing with. But when you can name it, and if you are willing to have that comfortable, or being comfortable with being uncomfortable with sharing it, it no longer has control of you. That shame and guilt no
Yeah.
longer have control of you. While you're helping and sharing the awareness with other people, you're also helping yourself.
Mm.
Like, even when it comes to the question in the passage you asked in regards to the empowerment, empowering is through utilizing your voice. And so when you are comfortable
Yeah.
with sharing it, then that also helps you as well. No longer has control, or no longer has hold. And then that's when you are truly being your authentic self, where you're able to navigate and show, like, this, I was there, this is what I
Yeah.
did, this is what helped me, and now this is where I am now. So by you talking about it, because even with social media, a lot of times when you see success stories, it's only
Yeah.
it seemed like it happened overnight, but no one
Yeah.
really wants to share, like, okay, this was hard, this is what I've been doing, I've been grinding, I've been sleeping, or losing sleep, on money to do this. But we don't talk about that. We talk about, oh, now I'm a
Yeah.
millionaire, this is what I'm doing. And so we create this false reality, or this false narrative, that a lot of
Mhm.
individuals that are watching how it's supposed to be, or that's how it's going to be. And when it does not
Mm.
appear that way, they're also upset. And so I feel like the way that we can help ourselves as well as our community is be willing to share. Like, no, I'm not perfect. This is what
Yep.
happened. This is what
Absolutely.
I've been doing. And so this also builds that community of utilizing, embracing our voice as well as the voice of others, and knowing that we are not alone. And just like when, if a person is sitting there thinking like, I struggled, they
Mm.
know, if Terri shares something and it's similar to what I'm going through, so let me go talk to her.
Yeah.
Or if Amanda shares something that she struggled with, there's somebody else is sitting there listening, and like, let me go talk to Amanda to see, now I see that she has overcame this. Now I see her doing this and she's thriving. So let me ask her, what did she do? Or who
Yeah.
did she get to help her to get to the space that she is now?
Yeah.
So when we don't share, we're still, I feel like as a community, we're still hurting, because we want to keep it in. And that's kind of that crabs in a barrel mentality as well, that we need
Yeah.
to get over. But we're working on it. But I think it's
Yeah.
just definitely important to share the information. And just, if you're doing this work and you want to have that community and collaborative effort, we have to share it, even when we feel like we're telling our business, because sometimes that do happen. But yeah.
But hey, you make such a good point though. Like, it is, people look at the like the highlight reel. People, it's like a 10-year overnight success is like what me and my friends call it all the time. Because if
Yeah,
you were to peel back the layers to see what some people have gone through, walls they've climbed where they
right.
collapsed, got back up again, got pushed down again, got up again, got pushed down twice again, got thrown in some water, got dragged through the
Yeah.
mud. Then finally they climbed up those steps to really achieve their goal. But again, when people don't share that, that's not
Mhm.
the nice part of, success. That's not the nice part of our journeys. And then here's the thing too, people, when they're going through the mud, they don't share that.
Nope.
Most people keep it to themselves when they're going through those hardships, to kind of, until it's like, until I get to that point, I'm just going to keep it to myself. So you make such that great point where it's like, when we don't share that, we're actually kind of limiting those around us too, because again, implying that, the only time we share things is when it's A1, when it's nice and shiny, when we win that award, when we get that role.
Right.
it's really fooling people into thinking, oh man, I'm not doing anything right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm struggling here and I'm sitting. And it is, you make a great point. That's kind of how we build that community so people can, have a place where they can lean on, where,
Mm-hmm.
people can go to that person and be like, hey, how did you do it? I'm going through this now. Hey, I'm going through the same thing. So I think, you make that's a phenomenal point. We really do need to share both the gems and the not so shiny gems of our livelihoods to really kind of defeat a lot of these stigmas. So absolutely great. you know and kind of moving on to now, I'm curious about the side of the people that are in this field and doing this work, such as yourself, right? For those
Mhm.
that are mental health coaches, what are the things to be aware of when counseling within the Black community? What is kind of some of those, as for professionals that are in this line of work? What are those things to be aware of, dealing with Black men, Black women, black non-binary people, whatever it may be? What are some things to be aware of?
I well, first, even when you just laid it out, knowing that we're all everyone is not just like one straight shot. Even the experiences are not the same. Having the awareness to understand that even though we may look the same, that
Yeah.
our experiences are different. And so if you don't have the awareness or the experience or specific type of training in regards to those individuals, know your scope, stay in it. And
Yeah.
if that's not your scope, refer
Yeah.
them to someone else.
Yeah.
A lot of times we sometimes like, I know you trying to build your business, try to build your brand, and you want to help
Mhm.
everybody. But Terri cannot help everyone. Terri has a specific audience. Terri
Yeah.
knows her audience. So Terri stays in her lane to work with the audience of individuals that she can work with. If there's individuals, depending on whatever that specifically is needed, and that's not within my scope, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm an expert and I'm going to figure it out. No, because there's someone that's already trained in that area and I'm going to refer you. I think it's important that we also, as mental health coaches, mental health therapists in this realm of mental health, to have the collaborative effort to be willing to send that person to the people that's in your network that
Yeah.
oh, I know so and so is good in this area, so I'm going to refer you to them.
Yeah.
That's important because again, even when, especially when it comes to the Black community, sometimes we can hold on, and then if it does not work with that mental health coach now, because they tried it that one time and now they're like, see, I knew they wasn't real. I knew I don't want to deal with these people. That's why I'm gonna just stay
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
myself. And that's the issue that we have, baby, because a lot of times we want to hold on to everything and we want to do
Yeah.
everything, in which we're not. We're one individual. There's a lot of people that's out here that's trained in specific areas that they are good
Yes.
in. If we're working together collaboratively, we'll be able to reach more people and we will still be
Yeah.
able to do what is required and needed in regards to our purpose and in our alignment. And so having the awareness of like the different cultural differences, the different views and different beliefs, and knowing within your scope is absolutely important because we want
Yes.
to help individuals and not continue to hurt and hinder them. And so by helping them, if that means that you refer them to someone else, you're doing your part and you helping them get the proper help that they need.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you make a good point. Again, those cultural differences, like you said, just because someone looks like me, it's continental, maybe the person's background, they're continental African versus African American. There's going to be some different stark differences there. Caribbean versus maybe they're South American.
Right.
Those are such cultural differences some people may not think about.
Yes.
Um, in your line, I'm so curious. Do you think, and I had asked you this before, but now I'm flipping it to the mental health, the actual professional, their side. Do you think all mental health coaches, do you see where people don't put that at the forefront? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I don't have the scope maybe to help Black women in this regard, or I don't have the scope to help Black children in this regard. Do you find that that's a big thing too, that a lot of mental health coaches don't put at the forefront?
Unfortunately, yes. I see it.
Mm.
I see it again, like I said, a lot of times, and I'm not gonna say that is selfish reasons. But sometimes it could be because again you're trying to build your clientele. I know even when it comes to,
Mm,
like I said earlier about the breakdown of what, because when you asked a question about mental health coach as well as a mental health therapist, it's that fine line. And sometimes there is a little bit of a discord between the life coaches, mental health coaches, and the therapists, the counselors, because you have some individuals that are on the mental health coaching,
mm.
life coaches, like, oh, I do the same thing as what a therapist does. I'm like, no, you didn't go to the schooling, you did not get the proper
Yeah.
training, so let's be respectful of each other's field. And when it's not in your scope, be willing to work with therapists, willing to work with counselors to move them over to that. And even if there is a moment where the therapist is providing the therapy, that specific treatment, if it's dealing with the past traumas as well as the mental health coach, if you're focusing on the present and the future, again, kind of like how we laid that out, and you're doing the collaborative approach, I think that would be great. And it's awesome that if we work together as a team, because we're all looking for we all have one goal in mind, that we want to help these individuals become their best selves, right? And so if you have that mindset, then you will be comfortable and confident in who you are, to know that this is my line, that I'm staying within my alignment or within my scope, but I'm also willing to work with other individuals that may have this area of their niche that they are better in, or they have the strength, or they have the education, they have the years of training, where they have success stories or success rates where they can work with those particular individuals. I think if we put that in the forefront, that also too would help with the dynamic in the Black community,
Yeah.
to also continue to break that stigma as well. But it definitely takes a collaborative effort instead of an individual effort. It's collaborative, where we have to
Yeah.
work together. That's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So definitely collaboration, for those watching, collaboration in the community, and collaboration on people that are choosing to do this as a career. It has to
Mhm.
happen on both fronts to really kind of really have that success. No, wonderful, wonderful. Now I'm so curious now too. Let's just also keep like a veil of just realisticness, and maybe you can give us a ballpark number. I really do am wondering, what is the affordability of a mental health coach? Obviously
Okay.
it's like, you had mentioned some people, they do both a therapist as well as a mental health coach to kind of do these treatments at the same time. Feasibility, let's just start there. What is the typical, I mean, if you could even ballpark it for us, what would be the rate to even afford a mental health coach? If you don't have
Um,
insurance, whatever may have, what's it look like?
There is like a sliding fee scale, and depending on kind of the years of experience of training that the mental health coach may have, the price can vary. It varies. It could I've seen as low as maybe $25 to $35 an hour,
Mm,
to 175. And
yeah,
so it's like it's a wide range. So it definitely varies depending on even the area of where those individuals are, the specific type of clientele that they're trying to reach. And so yes, when you think about the affordability, the feasibility, when the individuals that are looking for the help, and who they can afford, um, it's definitely important. Now, even just I will say, just because the individual may has lower prices, you still have to be mindful to make sure that that person is the best person for you. When you're paying your money,
yeah,
you make
yeah.
sure that they can provide what it is that you need. Sometimes, like I said, not saying that it's for selfish reasons, but it could be just the individual trying to build their brand, to build their clientele. And so sometimes when they're starting out, you may start out with lower rates. I'm not saying that they're not qualified to do the work that they're doing, but you have to also see what their intention actually is. Because sometimes people see that, oh, mental health, this potential where this is a money grab, I can make money. So if they're not really in it for the right reason, eventually that will also show within that individual. So just be mindful of that when it comes to the affordability. But there are the sliding scale fees with coaches as well as mental health therapists. And even if they're therapists, if you have insurance, your insurance covers it, depending on the type of job that you have.
Yeah.
If you have
Mhm.
benefits, you can also go through that, get at least 6
Yeah.
sessions for free. So utilize that as well.
Yeah.
Um, there's other like free resources, of course, that you can look online. That there are mental health support groups that are specific to different things, like parenting support groups, black male support groups, black women support groups, things that are now becoming available that are free, that are giving you the
Yeah.
support that you need in providing that awareness, to have those where you can have that safe space or feel that you have that safe space to have the conversations or talk about things that need to be talked about. Of course, as always,
Yeah.
self-help books are out there. Definitely important. Even again, online, you have podcasts like the Black Mental Health Matters, where you have the different topics and discussions. Other podcasts as well. Go on YouTube. And the beautiful thing, I'm not gonna say the beautiful. Well, with the pandemic, a lot of things have changed and brought things online. And so now you have more
Yeah.
licensed therapists or mental health coaches that are on YouTube. They also have their own YouTube YouTube pages, where you can go directly and they answer questions or they make videos talking
Yeah.
about specific
Yeah.
things related to mental health or mental wellness. And then there's websites that provide like also free resources as well, and how to get the support that's needed. So there's information
Mm,
out there that's online, definitely important. Like I said, podcasts, YouTube videos, Black Mental Health Matters show, and even checking out the sliding scale fees of individuals that are mental health coaches that can provide those services. And depending on what it is that you need, they can help you with, as well as the books that are available, journals and things that can help you. So if you can't afford it, in a sense, there's still other resources that you can get access to that can actually give you the help and some strategies and tools to help you navigate the present and the future. So
absolutely. No, that's wonderful. Yeah, and I'm curious too. I mean, like you kind of briefly touched on it, but how do you kind of be aware of the ones that are obviously you have Instagram, you can find mental health coaches on Instagram. That is definitely a thing, or on social media. How do you kind of differentiate between obviously some people may be trying to build their clientele up. They're trying to, kind of get clout by saying all the right things. How does one, just if you could briefly give that maybe one or two tips, how do you kind of differentiate to safely find someone that is free, let's say via
right.
social media? How do you kind of, nitpick that to be able to know this is free, but it's also effective and actually like a safe place?
That is definitely a good question. Like you said, you're right. On social media now, again, there's a lot of people that are out there that are sharing information. Um, you I think it's definitely a priority because you are the priority. So if you're looking for someone to help you, or if you're
Yes.
looking for help in
Yeah.
regards with a mental health coach, it's important to ask them questions. And not just the general questions of how long have you been doing this, or things in that
Yeah.
nature, but ask specific questions to your specific need. And if you don't, just because they give the right answer, um, at that moment, I would also encourage you to sit back and kind of look, pay attention, because if they're on social media posting a lot of things, the truth was going to reveal itself without you even having to ask. Do your research.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Yeah.
important to research
Yeah.
individuals. Like I said, even when it comes to me, when me working with mental health coaches on the side of me being the client or the therapist, I'm going to sit back and pay attention and observe, just kind of how you
Yeah.
move. Not just when you're making the specific post that's related to mental health, but I'm also paying attention to the other posts that posting and the comments that you're saying, because I'm looking at you again as a whole person, and I want to make sure that you're not in this judgmental space. Or do you truly have the compassion? Or are you just saying, oh, I'm just saying this just so I can get the particular clientele? Or what truly are your beliefs and your focus? So I definitely think it's important to interview and ask them the
Yeah.
questions that's related to your specific needs. Because people, we can always talk a good game, but it's
Yeah.
definitely important to do your research and to
Mm.
know that this is a person that I'm wanting to work with, or that I'm thinking about working with, and this is a partnership. I don't want you to be like, oh, you can tell me all of these good things, but I want you to work with me to help me to also be able to be empowered, that I can take the tools that you gave me and eventually can fire you and do this on my own. Because while my role, even, and I tell my clients this as a mental health coach, your job, my job is to give you the tools and strategies that you need so that you will fire me.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be together forever, right? I'm supposed to be your
Yeah,
accountability
that's a good
partner,
point.
to help you with your present, to help you set the goals to be obtainable and measurable for your future. If you still with me 5, 10 years down the road, I'm doing something wrong because I'm not doing my job. My job is to
Mm.
help you, empower you so you can fire me. It's not a long term type of thing. So I'm not a
Yeah, yeah,
therapist. And even with
yeah.
that, it's like
Mm.
you have the moments where you have to, even regardless with your therapy, whether you're checking in with them, but it's not supposed to be a consistent every day or every week type of thing. It's like, even if you're doing a check-in once a month or something, that's great with the therapist. But me as a mental health coach, this is supposed to be temporary for the present and the
Yeah,
future. Move on so you can achieve those goals. Because if you busy sitting with me, then you're taking away time for you to actually achieve your goals, right? So it's my
yeah.
job to do what I'm supposed to do, give you the tools that you need so you can move on and fire me. So that's how I look at
That
that.
that right there, that's definitely a soundbite. Terry said, "Move on so you can fire me. That's my job, for you to eventually fire me so you can get up out of here and move on with your life." No,
Exactly.
but that's some really true stuff. It's definitely how do you move on? I mean, how is the be very cognizant of if that mental health coach is really helping you move on. So no, that's
Yes.
a really great thing, and that kind of rolls into our next question. Obviously people take this help, but what if you feel you're not benefiting from a mental health coach? What should one do if they feel like I'm just not taking steps forward, like you said, to eventually fire this person to, really get to where I need to get? What if you feel like you're just not getting there? What should someone do?
If you feel that you're not, if you feel that you're not benefiting from them, I would say have that conversation with them, because this is
Mm.
a supportive partnership. And so you should be comfortable with telling them this isn't working. You told me to do something, I tried it and it didn't work. And if they
Yeah.
are open to understand, then because again, this is a supportive partnership and accountability that should happen on both sides, then either they will be able to assist, adjust, regroup, and get it to the point, or refer you somewhere else. And if even if they're not referring you and it's like, okay, well, let's work with this and let's try something else. And it's still not working, then you again can fire them. Because like I said, my job is to help you become your best self or get the tools that you need so you can progress, and then you fire me. But even if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, or you feel that we've tried it, it's not working out, my way isn't working for you, it's not the best fit, because sometimes I'm not the best fit for everyone, and you're not, as a client, you're not the best fit for me. And so that is perfectly okay. There's plenty of other mental health coaches that are out there that can help you. Like I said, I know my scope and I'm going to stay in my lane. And so
Yeah.
just as you're the client, if you feel that you're not getting what you need from that person, it is okay for you to find another person. Because at the end of the day, while it's your designated time, while this is a personalized approach to help with your specific needs, you are the priority. And if you don't feel like that you're being prioritized effectively, if you do not feel like the tools and strategies that they gave you is not working, then you do not have to stay with that person. You go with the person that is the best fit for you and for your best self. So
Absolutely. No, I think that's very key, because a lot of people sometimes too may lack the confidence to even tell that person, hey, this isn't working out, I need to go seek something else. So I think it's good for you to really say that hey, look, the priority is you. Keep
Mm-hmm.
that no matter what. You are the priority here. You're paying for it, right? You know what I mean? You're paying that person. Really make sure that they know that you're the priority, and you have to know yourself that you're the priority. I do think a lot of people struggle with even realizing that. So no, very, very good gems right there and good advice. And now my kind of as we're kind of wrapping up here, Terri, you're really just dropping a lot of knowledge for the folks to know. What are, and then we kind of hit this before, but kind of let's really make like a definitive list. How does one really vet to find a successful mental health coach to work with them during that phase of their life? What are kind of your three, let's say even 3 to 5, whatever you can give, top tips to really finding that coach that works for you?
I would say first do your research. Research that particular individual, the mental health coach, understand their background. See what
Mm,
type of training that they've experienced and went through, because that also says a lot to if the person is really serious about their craft. We should be lifelong learners, especially within this field. Things are constantly evolving and changing, so it's important for you to stay in the know about different things regarding
yeah,
the cultural competency, regarding
yeah,
specific changes in beliefs. And so while you do your research to see like when's the last time you did a training, or are you one that
hmm
is
hmm
interested in
yeah,
staying within that training? That's definitely important. So research, study your person, interview them, ask them the hard questions, ask them the
yeah,
particular questions. Do not be afraid. While I know we a lot of sometimes the individuals that are coming, they are working on trying to exercise and utilize their voice. This is the
yes,
most important time where you can learn how to do that because
yeah,
again,
absolutely,
you are the priority. So you need to make sure that if I'm paying my money, that
yeah,
you are giving me the best help that I need. And you are looking at me as the priority when then it comes to the designated time that
yeah,
we are working together. The third one, I would say, I said what research, the interviewing, interviewing and asking the important questions, but then just also even when you lay out your expectations, ask them what their
yeah,
expectations is for your sessions. I would say
yeah,
that too, that would be separate from even the interview questions because if you decide like, okay, I'm gonna be with this person, now I want you to tell me what your expectations of what you want to do with me as a client.
yeah,
Again, holding that accountability with them is definitely important. While their job is to be the supportive partner with you and the accountability partner for you, you also are holding them accountable to make sure that they are meeting your needs, and which is very important. That's how I feel that what you should do when it comes to making sure that the mental health coach that you choose and select, and you're vetting to find the most successful one. And even if you do all of those things and it's still somewhere after a couple of sessions it does not work, the loyalty lies with you. So you have to make
yeah,
sure that you still are doing what's best for yourself and moving on to that other person that you may also um look at. And I think that even when you are doing your research, don't just research one person. Research a couple of people and ask them those specific questions. You're interviewing them just like
yeah,
we interview for jobs, just like we're checking out, researching those different jobs. You do the same when it comes to the mental health coach because you don't just want to jump on the first one that you see. You want to make sure that, okay, I have a few people that I'm interested in that kind of their beliefs or their views are relative to what I'm looking for or where I want to try to get with to help become my best self. And so let me research them, see kind of their background, do a compare and contrast, and ask them the important questions. And then you weed it out that way. So don't just jump on the first one. While we love to
yeah.
have you as a client, it's still up to you to make sure that you are selecting the best fit. So
Absolutely. That's something really to think about. Really, like it's almost like speed dating. Like you just have to just keep asking, keep asking, keep asking, till you find the right one, right? So there you
Yeah.
go. No, I like that. I like that approach a lot. Definitely is your best friend in that. No, thank you for sharing that. So as we're wrapping up, like I said, so much knowledge has been just shared here. And I kind of want to wrap it up with this kind of communal question. What do you think the biggest impact mental health coaching can have on the Black community?
That is a good question. And I think the biggest impact that we could have is exercising and embracing the voice of others. Um, a lot of times in the Black community, we struggle with
Mm,
having our voice and our
mm,
identity. And so I feel like even when because we want to look at mental health and keep it separate. We want to group like the mental health and mental illness, like and use unfortunately the term like I'm not crazy or I don't have things going on with myself and thinking like, oh, that's what we're talking about when it comes to mental health. Everyone is affected by mental health, whether you have been diagnosed with a mental illness or you have to take medication or whatnot. We all experience things, we all experience stress, good stress and bad stress, which affects us, right? And so when it comes to the mental health, having the awareness to understand and know that mental health affects us all and it should not be separate. I think
yeah.
that having that biggest impact to know that you have that support, to know that you have the awareness of individuals that are specifically and especially trained in this area or have the training in that area and understanding and knowledge to embrace the voice of everyone. That is important.
Mm,
And the best way that we can have the biggest impact within the Black community is creating that non-judgmental space, creating that safe environment to allow everyone that's within this group to have a voice and know that they are not alone and know that there are individuals that can help them or get them the help that they need with the available resources and the connections in the spaces of who's talking about these specific topics and discussions that's related and revolved around mental health that affects the Black community. So
absolutely. No, I think that's such a great way to end, making sure we all have that voice to speak. That is what a great benefit of mental health and coaching can really, really have. All right. Well, thank you so much, Terri. I really appreciate your time sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And I really think people are in the chat. I think people really took away from this. And so a big thank you to you, mental health coaching, understanding that what it is and how it can affect us has helped a lot of people today. So thank you so much for coming on. Please do
thank
tell
you.
us, any social media tags. Where can we find you? Where can we find the amazing work you're doing? Where can people even seek the help that you're presenting to our community?
Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Terri Floyd, MS. You can find me on LinkedIn as well as on other social media platforms. Facebook, you can find me under the Know to Thrive Collaborative Coaching and Consulting. That's where you can, if you're interested or looking for services in regards to mental health coaching or even parenting coaching, I am available there. As well as through Instagram, same thing, the Know to Thrive Collaborative. That's my page where you can see and find out information, different resources that I'm sharing, even my journals that focus on the mindset as well as resetting and self discovery that is on Amazon. But I also share those on my Instagram and my Facebook. Working on my website and we'll hope to get that up soon. But yeah, as of right now, you can contact me and connect with me through LinkedIn, through Facebook, and through IG. And I look forward to working with you, answering questions that you may have. Or if it's out of my scope, I know some great mental health coaches as well as therapists that I can refer you to.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, go check out all of Terry's amazing work. Yeah, thank Terry. Big thank you. I really appreciate you coming on the Black Mental Health Matters show today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you all for tuning in to Black Mental Health Matters. Now, to support our show, please visit bmhm.org. And for the latest conversations on Black mental health, please join us next week, same time, same place. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.